Hello, and welcome to another video on heliopsychology with me, Annani Kelley, PhD. I am the founder of heliopsychology, which I founded with my dissertation, um, The Influences of Space Weather on Sleep and Dream States, which is available on ProQuest. Today's video is going to focus on geomagnetic instability and the importance of understanding why. Now, this video was really catalyzed by an email exchange I had with a colleague. This colleague of mine asked for the simplest way to determine the geomagnetic instability on certain days. And my response was, it's not so easy to determine that. I mean, certainly you can look at the KP value for certain days, but the most important um, aspect of geomagnetic instability, as far as I am concerned, is why the geomagnetic instability occurred. Because all geomagnetic instability is caused by solar activity. So, what was the solar event that caused the geomagnetic disturbance? This is important, and it's extremely relevant to the solar activity we have had this week, as a matter of fact. And it's so fascinating. But first, it's all about the energy. Our hearts and brains are organs of energy, both respond to solar activity and geomagnetic activity via light, electromagnetic impulses, fluctuations in hormones modulated by the superchiasmatic nucleus, the human electromagnetic field, endogenous ferromagnetic particles, brain waves, heart rate variability, the mind body response to external electromagnetic fluctuations. Today's focus, again, causes of geomagnetic instability. And again, I'm going to repeat my few words about alarmists. So we need to understand the origins of geomagnetic instability. Not all solar activity is the same. For instance, we have solar flares, which are bursts of UV light from sunspots. There are filaments that can occur, which tend to be connected via sunspots, but not always. Sometimes they're just kind of floating randomly on the sun. In fact, the background image you see right here is a solar filament that happened. It was really beautiful too when it happened. We also have solar wind. Sometimes we have something known as ghost CMEs, where the sun will produce a coronal mass ejection with no discernible cause. And specifically today, I'm going to talk about the anti-hail spots. So again, a colleague reached out to me recently because she wanted to know the geomagnetic parameters of three distinct periods of time. And interestingly, during those three distinct period of times, there were several different distinct solar activities going on. So during one of the dates she presented to me, there was an X flare the night before with a coronal mass ejection from the X flare that was due to arrive. On another date, there was a filament eruption with geomagnetic activity that was going to happen. And then even on another date that was listed, it was geomagnetic activity, from solar wind. Now, solar wind is always with us. It does change in density, speed, and heat, and that creates geomagnetic instability. But solar wind is appreciably different from solar flares, just like filaments are appreciably different from solar flares and solar wind. Now, the anti-hail sunspot in question, the one that produced the X flare this week and the two almost X flares, we have a CME coming, it's supposed to hit tonight or late tomorrow, was by an anti-hail sunspot, and I'm going to discuss this here. Sunspot 4455 is a rare anti-hail sunspot. Anti-hail means a sunspot has a reversed polarity magnetic field, which makes it unstable. Studies show that about 3% of all sunspots fall into this category, according to a 1982 survey by Francis Tang of the Big Bear Solar Observatory. Reverse polarity sunspots are more than twice as likely to develop complex magnetic fields and thus explode. So, an anti-hail sunspot, which has reverse polarity magnetic field, means that its magnetic polarity is not what it should be in the hemisphere where it is in. So, for instance, if the northern hemisphere should be leading positive, an anti-hail sunspot will lead negative. Conversely, if a northern hemisphere sunspot should be leading negative, an anti-hail sunspot will be leading positive in its polarity. So 4455 was an anti-hail sunspot, which means its polarity was different than it should have been in that particular hemisphere. In this case, it is the northern hemisphere. So it had a reverse polarity than should be seen in the northern hemisphere. And that is what made it so potent. It wasn't the fact that the sunspot was big, it was the fact that the sunspot had a much different polarity than it should have had in the region it was in, which made it more explosive and the CME more potent, which still has not arrived. So we know that heliobiological studies have been ongoing for 50 years. I am the founder of heliopsychology. Psychology is just now kind of catching up. And I think one of the reasons for that is the Cartesian split. So the Cartesian split describes that the mind and body are separate, but over the past 50 or so decades, maybe 70 years even. I'm not sure how long it's been trying to reconcile. I'd have to go back through my research. But there has been a reconciliation where certain psychologists, not all psychologists, but certain psychologists are noticing that the mind and body are not actually split, that they're one. And when one has a discontinuity, the other will have a discontinuity. You're most likely to notice this in your daily life when you're hungry. If you're really hungry, you might notice you get a headache. You might notice that you get angry. There's that term hangry, which is hungry, angry. But the same thing happens when you're depressed or when you're anxious, when you're stressed. So, when you're depressed, angry, or stressed, for instance, you may feel those emotional discomforts in your stomach or in your body. You may feel if you have a chronic pain issue, if you're depressed, angry, or stressed, you may feel that your chronic pain levels go up. You may feel the tension in your stomach. You may actually get diarrhea from having stress. So, to say that the mind and body are separate, I believe, is pseudoscience at this point. The Cartesian split, we need to just get the fuck away from that. Excuse my French. I feel like that's the best way to say it. So the mind and body are connected. And if they weren't, things would be different today. I'm not going to get into that. I want to say other things, but I'm just going to stay away from those things for now. So again, all geomagnetic disturbances are caused by solar influences. The geomagnetic field isn't just storm on its own. It storms because of the sun. It storms because of solar wind. It storms because of coronal mass ejections. It storms because of filament eruptions. It storms because of the things that are happening on the sun. So if you feel side effects from some geomagnetic storms, but not others, then it is likely the solar event that you are sensitive to and not the geomagnetic storm itself per se. So, for instance, you may be more susceptible to geomagnetic activity that is derived from certain sunspots. So, like for me, I've noticed that I am more sensitive to sunspots that have a negative leading polarity. I feel better when the geomagnetic activity is caused by sunspots with a positive leading polarity. I also feel worse from geomagnetic storms that are caused by filament eruptions. I tend to feel nothing when they're derived by the solar wind because the solar wind is always here. That's my feeling. And you may notice the same thing, but unless you're really paying attention to what the sun is itself doing, you may not notice. You may only notice that you feel this way on some geomagnetic active days and not others, and therefore may have discounted it because it's not happening all the time. But the storms are caused by different factors, so you have to take that into account. You have to take in the solar event that caused it into account because the energy that is being propelled at the earth and causing the storm is not going to be the same. Some CMEs are stronger than others. The material that is unleashed by a filament tends to be more massive. I don't mean like big, I mean it has more mass to it, more plasma mass than a standard CME. And then, of course, solar wind is certainly not the same as a coronal mass ejection by any stretch of the imagination. So again, why or why not? There's so many different reasons why. Um, Notwithstanding the solar activity. So we have your biological sex. Are you male or female? We have your age. We have chronic illnesses such as CNS and ANS disorders, multiple sclerosis, cardiovascular, lupus, etc. Are you taking medications? Are you living near a magnetically active regions such as volcanoes or fault lines? Do you live above the 42nd parallel? And then, of course, there are other confounding variables. So I am still very slowly working on a book on heliopsychology. The past few months of my life have been extremely stressful, partly due to finances and partly due to other things. So it's been just extremely slow going. I can't write when I'm stressed out. I did just release a poetry book focused on dreams, Samya Dipina Monday, Dreams of the End of the World, and I'm still working on my space weather apps. You can look at my poetry book. It is available on Amazon.com. And recently I was on a podcast with Dr. Catherine Bell. You can look me up alongside Dr. Catherine Bell, and you should be able to find the podcast there. So I was interviewed about heliopsychology, and then we went on to a tangent about consciousness. It was such a wonderful podcast. I loved it. And I'm going to probably include this brief word with all my future videos because it's just annoying the crap out of me. And I'm not even going to excuse my French right now because it really does annoy me this much. A brief word about alarmism. There is a YouTube channel that is really inducing fear into individuals. And the last time I mentioned this in a video, something changed. So it's still going this way, right? But they are now, I am a follower in a group they have partly for psychological reasons. I just want to see where this is going. I want to see how this progresses. But these people are now creating a commune in Colorado. So they're literally becoming a fucking cult. Okay. This is their cult leader is Ben Davidson. They have their catchphrases, they have their words that they use, they have their ideologies, and you cannot disagree. You have to go along with the program, etc., etc. So this is becoming a hardcore cult, okay? And I would like to remind anybody here that's watching this that Ben Davidson has no training in psychology, no training in astronomy, no training in astrophysics. He is an attorney, basically. That's it. He's an attorney, and he's very charismatic. And all you need to do to start a cult is to have charisma, and that's what he's done. And people are just latching on to what he's saying, hook, line, and sinker. He does not have a magical mystery key to the secrets of the past, who knows how many millennia of the Earth. Our sun is not capable of micronova that he says will happen. Miyake events are not micronovas. They're extended periods of long solar or supernovae activity from near Earth stars. Micronovas only come from white dwarfs, which are dead stars. Our sun, again, is not capable of that. Now, he is saying that our sun can produce a micronova. There are his followers who are stating that they are afraid that all their metal material will melt when a micronova happens. And he has placed this micronova in about 14 years from now. I'm not kidding. He is saying that the sun is going to micronova around 2040 and that all these catastrophic things will happen. I mean, this is the stuff of religious and cult leaders. It's crazy, and people are not understanding. Anyway, um, and he's talking about the next geomagnetic excursion, which will be an extinction level event, but none of our past excursions are associated with extinction level events. Okay, that doesn't happen. In fact, our most recent magnetic excursion, which may actually have not been an excursion but a complete flip, based on some of the research I've seen coming out, was a Lachamp event. Now, the Lachamp event and other excursions that occurred during human lifetime have always been associated with consciousness, evolution, and development. So, for instance, Lachamp was associated with a rise in cave art, communication, trade, agriculture, and domestication of animals. The Younger Dryas event, which was around 12,000 years before present, was associated with either the Vela supernova, which is proven due to the measurement of quasars and the isotopes in ice cores, or an asteroid, which has been largely unproven, but people still kind of push that narrative and still try to prove it, but there's no evidence for it whatsoever. Please do not join the cult of doomsday profiteers. Okay, I know if you're watching this that you are smarter than that. And thank you if you are watching this. Suspicious Observers has jumped the shark and has attained a cult following. He gets a lot of money from this. He is monetized. He has put out a really hilarious documentary and has a paper that he self-published that is not in any format I can recognize, not Chicago, not MLA, not APA. There are no references. It is just a bunch of freaking balderdash. Don't buy into it, okay? Just don't. Walk the fuck away. So again, future videos will include the hows and whys of heliopsychology, how to read the sun, discussions of relevant research, updates on solar activity, and answering questions from viewers. If you would like to see more videos like this one, please like and subscribe. If you would like to collaborate on a research project, contact me through YouTube's messaging service or my personal email, dr_helio@mail.com. I am not monetized. If you would like to support my channel, my research, please consider donating to Venmo, Dr_Helio. And let me tell you, the past few months have been horrible, horrible, horrible. So any donations would be completely appreciated so much. I mean, it's just been one calamity after another for my household. And I'm doing everything I can to change things, to turn things around. But yeah, it's not been working. And on top of that, the car and for our household, the transmission just went out. So again, I'm I don't want to beg, but I'm kind of begging. Please consider donating. It would be so helpful. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.